I think it'd be very appropriate if we had a little prayer.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we have your attention at this time, please?
So the band agreed that just to get you in the mood for a little prayer, that the next hour will be Gregorian chant. And so there'll be no dancing. You just process up one side and down the other. But no, we'll say a beautiful prayer because the best story in the Bible is the story when Jesus actually showed up at a wedding. And so we recall the story of the wedding feast at Cana, in which Jesus arrived and he blessed the water, turning the water into wine. And so today we ask Jesus to be with us again today, to bless not only the water, I think there's plenty of wine, to bless the food, all right, but also especially to bless Kevin and Danielle, to bless you today, and hope that you'll say I love you every day of your life. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
And now I'd like to invite the father of the bride up to say a few words. Bob.
Good evening. For those of you who I have not had the pleasure of meeting, I'm Bob, the father of the bride. And I've been given the honor of being the warm-up act before the real speeches come later on from best man Michael and maid of honor Lauren. But before I do that, there's a few people I'd like to thank. First, my wife, Fatima. Thank you so much for helping to raise such an incredible daughter and for making this day possible. Gary and Karen, stand up, please. You guys, unbelievable. Thank you both for your help and support in also making this day happen and for raising one fantastic guy. And for encouraging him to spend the rest of his life with my daughter. To all my family, my relatives, and my friends on both sides for making this long journey here. It means the world to me to have you here, to take the time out of your busy lives to spend this day with Danielle and Kevin. I'd also like to thank all the bridesmaids, groomsmen, for all their help and the fun that they've given me. Lastly, Father Peter, thank you so much for presiding over today's wedding and for all your help and your advice. Danielle told me I could say a few words tonight if I promised her not to embarrass her. So I promised. But I've been lying to my children my whole life. Only kidding, Danielle. I won't embarrass you with my words. I'll save that for the dance floor later. This is an important day for me because it is my last full day off before I start my second job. I need to resuscitate my bank account. However, I now get to hand over Danielle's spending habits to Kevin. Really, do these two not make a wonderful couple? And are these two not going to make some beautiful babies? So now that you're officially married, get busy and get me some grandbabies! I'd like to talk a little bit about my beautiful daughter. Danielle was born on June 7, 1988. You remember? It was a Tuesday night, and I remember holding her in my arms and thinking how incredible tiny she was. She was the most beautiful baby girl in the world to me that night, with her chubby cheeks and head full of hair. By the time she was about 2 years old, she always used to say, "No, I do. No, I do." She always wanted to do everything on her own. Brush her teeth, comb her hair, dress herself. She wouldn't let anybody else do anything for her. She was so independent at 2 years old. And that continues to this day. So Kevin, remember, let Danielle do it. Do not get in the way. I was looking at some old photos when I was putting the speech together. And I smiled at the memories of Danielle taking her first steps, her first skiing lessons, and the numerous ice skating and dance competitions in which she was so graceful and won many first-place awards. But the fondest memories were her and her brother rolling down a steep grassy hill at our annual autumn hike up at the Mohawk Mountain House, not far from here in New Paltz. A traditional hike we continue to this day. And Kevin's been on a couple of those already. Danielle, always with a smile on her face, a happy child, and a thoughtful individual. Thank you, Danielle, for the honor of letting me walk you down the aisle earlier today. You look absolutely stunning. And I was speechless when I first saw you in your wedding dress. May I say from the bottom of my heart that I am so proud of you and for being everything a father could wish for in a daughter. I love you. Now to Kevin. You didn't think I'd leave you out of this speech, did you? For all of you who know or don't know, Kevin and Danielle met in Italy in an Irish bar, no less. No surprise to me with the name of Fitzpatrick. What's the matter? Couldn't get a visa to Ireland? They didn't want you? Did they know something I didn't know? Fortunately, us Italians are very sympathetic, and Danielle was able to meet the love of her life. Over time, they spent more and more time together, but like any father, I had my doubts and soon realized that Kevin was serious about Danielle by the way he treated her and the respect he had for Fatima and myself as parents. That spoke volumes about him and his intentions. Kevin very quickly became part of the family. Excuse me. Kevin very quickly became part of the family, especially when he started leaving his clothes on the floor, not waking up until noon, started raiding my refrigerator, and drinking my beer. Kevin, now that you're married to Danielle, there is a trade-off with eating my food and drinking my beer. So, when you get back from your honeymoon, take the golf clubs out of the golf bag and replace it with a shovel, a broom, a rake, throw in an axe, and some work gloves, because we got a lot of work to do up at the upstate house. Kevin, you are a man of enormous integrity and good character, yet you always maintain a sense of fun and free-spiritedness, which I think everybody in this room would agree. Although you have been part of our lives for some years now, it is with genuine pride and pleasure to officially welcome you into our family. I know you will be a loving, loyal, and supporting husband and partner to Danielle. And I am confident you will take good care of her. Joe? If not, you might be meeting a member of my other family. Kevin, I'm only kidding. Or maybe not. Let's hope you don't have to find out. You know I love you. Or maybe not. Thank you, Joe. Somebody get him a bowl of mozzarella, please. As I conclude this speech, I'd like to offer a bit of wisdom on life and marriage. So after having over 32 years of wedded happiness to fall back on, I'd like to offer this advice. Always communicate with each other, always respect each other, always trust each other, and above all, always say, I love you. And if that's not enough for a successful marriage, there's always one bourbon, one scotch, and one beer! I raise my glass to toast my daughter, Danielle, and my new son-in-law, Kevin. Danielle has dreamed of this day ever since she was a young girl, and her dream has finally come true. And yes, I'll say it, with her very own Prince Charming. I wish you both the very best of luck, love, and happiness in your new life ahead as husband and wife. Salute!
I would like to invite the maid of honor, Lauren, up to say a few words.
Right. Have a stand by them over there.
Where's Lauren? There she is. All right. Shh. You got it, Lauren.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lauren, Danielle's maid of honor. First, I would like to start by thanking Mr. and Mrs. Christina and Mr. and Mrs. Fitzpatrick for having us all in this gorgeous place to celebrate Danielle and Kevin's wedding. I've always looked up to Danielle, and how could you not? She's smart, compassionate, cares immensely about those she loves. She's funny, she's a great listener, and have you had her cooking? Girl does it all. Side note, Kev, too, is a cook. His culinary expertise starts and ends with Dino chicken nuggets. I'm fortunate that naturally Danielle did everything before me. Always a level ahead of me on the ice. She attended middle school and high school before me, and eventually college. Danielle even had her tonsils removed before me. She was always able to advise what I should expect in life. When Danielle decided to go to Fairfield, I knew I wanted to go as well. Remember when I mentioned how smart Danielle is? Me? Not quite as much. I was able to get myself into the town of Fairfield and attended Sacred Heart, so at least we were close by. Danielle went abroad to Italy her junior year, and you'll never guess who else wanted to go abroad their junior year. I'm sure you're sensing the pattern by now, me. When Danielle was in Florence, she met a guy, a really special guy, and I'll never forget the time that she told me about him. His name was Kevin Fitzpatrick. known as Fitz to his friends. And Kevin seriously has so many friends. Senior year, Danielle had a bout of never-ending tonsillitis. I remember her telling me that this Fitz was bringing her strawberry milkshakes every single day because she couldn't really eat. I recall thinking to myself, what a caring guy this Fitz is. Looking back, I think that's when I realized Kevin was Danielle's person. Watching Danielle and Kevin's love story unfold truly has been a privilege. From their Fairfield days, to their first apartment in Long Island City, to their world travels. Road trips in Chicago, biking the Golden Gate Bridge, their European adventures, and next up, Thailand. Danielle and Kevin are perfect for each other in every way. They make each other laugh. They keep each other grounded. They share a love of football, though not the same team. And above all, they love each other deeply and unconditionally. I could not pick a more genuine, wonderful man for my best friend. Kevin, you truly are a stand-up guy. I can't wait to see what your future holds as husband and wife. I'm anticipating a lot of laughter, happiness, traveling, and a good amount of golf. May you always look at each other the way you are today, and may your love continue to grow every single day. Everyone, please join me in raising a glass to our bride and groom, Danielle and Kevin Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Lauren. And now I would like to welcome Mike, our best man Mike, to the microphone. Welcome Mike to the mic.
All right. For those of you who don't know, I'm Kev's older brother. I'm about 8 years older than Kevin, which unfortunately for Kev means that I remember pretty much his entire childhood. So I'm sorry, Kev, but this speech could get quite embarrassing for you, but I'll try to keep it wedding reception appropriate. For Danielle, I know I'm meant to stand here and welcome you to the family, but the thing is that you've been part of our family for years now. Right from when we first met Danielle, she fit in perfectly with our family, and I think I can speak for the entire Fitzpatrick family when I say that we've really thought of you as family all along. So I see today as more of just a larger celebration of something that we've been celebrating all along, which is Kevin and Danielle's wonderful relationship and the happiness that these two amazing people have not only brought each other, but to all of us through the years. So although you're formally entering our family today, we have been so thrilled to have you as part of our family for a long time. And now for Kev. Where do I begin? Well, I could go into his public urination charge, but I won't. As far as I know, they're still reviewing the video evidence anyway, and everyone's presumed innocent until proven guilty. I could go into his terrible gambling habit. Not that he really has a bad gambling habit, he's just a really bad gambler. And no card counting books that he may have read on a 23-hour flight to Australia have been able to change that. I could go into his bachelor party shenanigans, but what happens in New Orleans, I don't think any of us remember that, so I think you're okay on that front, Kev. But in all seriousness, there's so many superlatives I can stand here and use to describe my brother Kevin, but all would just lead to the same ultimate conclusion, that he's just a genuinely great guy. He's always there for his family and friends. He's always the first to congratulate someone when things go well or be there for someone when things may not be going well. While Kevin and I talk all the time, we don't actually get to see each other that often these days as we live in different states. But one of the great joys of my life has been some of the experience we've been able to share together through the years. Whether that's our trips to football games or golf tournaments or just hanging out on the couch and having a beer and watching TV. Along with my other brother, Brian, are truly my best friends in this world. I feel so fortunate to have such great brothers as part of my life. Now, before I finish, I'd like to tell everyone a story which allows me to stand in front of all of you here today and say that I know for a fact Kevin and Danielle have a long and wonderful marriage ahead of them. About a year and a half ago, we were all heading out to Colorado for a family reunion. So Kevin and I decided that it would be a good idea to share the cost of renting a car because our flights were landing around the same time. Now, in fairness, what happened on that now infamous morning at the Denver International Airport was partially my fault because I was meant to book a car and I never did. But I'm not going to bore you with details, so I'll go into the rest of the story. Our flights both landed on time, and I met Kevin and Danielle out in front of the airport. My wife, Katie, was not arriving until later in the day. Lucky for you, Katie. We quickly realized that all the car rental windows were pretty much overrun with people, as if there was some kind of apocalyptic event happening in Denver, and everyone needed a car immediately. Danielle had looked up a car rental place just outside the airport on her phone that had lots of cars available, really good rates, and being the intelligent person that she is, suggested we just catch an Uber out there for about $10 and rent a car there. Kev and I didn't listen. Kev found a car rental company that had lots of cars available, and we all took what seemed like an hour ride to the other side of the airport to a rental car location. Once we got there, there was about 75 people in line in front of us, but by this time we were already invested in the decision, so we foolishly decided to stay. Plus, I'm not even sure we could have left even if we wanted to. We were now out in the middle of nowhere, and the bus to this place drove through these big gates, dropped us off, left, and the gates closed behind. The gates would then open each time a rental car was leaving. For all of you Walking Dead fans out there, this place was like the car rental version of Terminus. I really don't think any of us were leaving there unless it was in one of their rental cars. Now, what you also have to understand about this day was that it was obscenely hot outside. I was coming from Atlanta in July, and it felt to me like we had just landed on the face of the sun. So while Kev was waiting online for what seemed like an eternity, Danielle was sitting outside absolutely roasting in the heat. Kev was the one that actually had to rent the car because due to the flight times back, he was the one that had to drop the car off. So he finally got to the front of the line, Danielle went to join him, and I stayed outside with the bags. Things got even worse from there. I could see Kev shaking his head, turning red, tossing his arms up in the air. Danielle was standing next to him with her arms crossed, just shaking her head. Finally, after signing a whole bunch of papers, Kev and Danielle came storming out of the car rental office. I asked Danielle what happened. She said, "Talk to Kevin." I thought, oh man, this is going to be a long drive back to the hotel. So I asked Kev what happened. He said, "We just paid over $1,000 to rent a 10-year-old bright gold Passat for less than 3 days." I can't believe you didn't book a car. And that's the wedding-appropriate version of that, what he said. They charged him a rate much higher than what they said back at the airport, added on all sorts of fees on top of that. Now, I'm usually a quiet, reserved person, but every once in a while I'll say the wrong thing at precisely the wrong time. This was one of those occasions. So I foolishly said, "Wow, you could have probably bought the car for another couple of grand, refunded your plane ticket, and just drove it back to New York." Kev looked at me with a face that I don't think I will ever forget. It was as if he had so much to say at that moment, but he just couldn't even speak. So then we all got into our gold Passat, began making the 45-minute drive out to the hotel. I was terrified, partially because at the heart of this whole ordeal was me forgetting to book the car months earlier, and partially because I thought I was going to be caught right smack in the middle of a big fiancé argument between these two. As luck would have it, not even 10 minutes into our trip, we passed the town where the car rental place was located, that Danielle had suggested we take an Uber to. Needless to say, Danielle was quick to point this out as we drove past in our $400 a day rental car. Kev said, "Yeah, not my finest moment here. I took the blame for not booking the car months earlier." And then Kev and Danielle began laughing at the whole ordeal. It was truly a calamity of poor decisions, and at this point there was nothing left to do other than to find the comedy in it. So for about 15 minutes, we all laughed about the entire ordeal, contemplated whether we'd keep this to ourselves or to even tell anyone at the reunion what had just occurred. Danielle, of course, said, "I'm telling everyone." We would have been there hours earlier and $800 richer if you guys had just listened to me. And she was right. And then we all laughed some more. As Kevin and Danielle sat there laughing about this whole ordeal we had just gone through, I thought to myself that there's no question in my mind that these two are going to have a wonderful marriage and life ahead of them. Katie and I have lived in Atlanta for about 5 years or so. As you probably know, country music is huge in that area of the country. There's a line from a Kenny Chesney song that I always thought was a perfect motto for life. It goes, "I live to love and laugh a lot, and that's all I need." And this line from a song that, again, I always thought was a great way to live your life, I think really encompasses Kevin and Danielle's relationship. They clearly love each other very much. They love their family and their friends. They enjoy everything about life, and they have perspective enough to sit back, laugh about something as absurd as our Colorado car rental experience. So, as I said before, I know for a fact that these two really have an amazing marriage and life set out ahead of them, and I know that Katie and I think, again, I can speak for the whole family, really feel fortunate that we can be a part of it. So, if we could all stand and raise our glasses to Kev, Danielle, love, laughter, and that good old Golden Passat in Colorado.
Yeah, guys, make some noise.